Hello everyone, this is Sebastian and I'm happy that you have joined this video about the Log4J attack. And you might ask yourself why we are producing a video on an attack that is a couple of months old. I can tell, because we think it's not over. Have fun watching. It's been already a while ago that we have seen a code red vulnerability that is named CVE-2021-44228. I am talking about the Log4J vulnerability that was discovered mid of December 2021. And the problem with the Log4j vulnerability is that Log4j is the de facto standard for logging error messages, information and whatnot on a Java application or software. And we all know that Java software is ubiquitous throughout the servers and the services throughout the internet. And that's a big problem. So if you want to learn how to make your systems even more secure regarding the Log4j vulnerability, then stay to the end of that video. And I would be interested in, maybe you can use the comment section below that video to tell us how did you identify all the Java and Log4j instances on your servers. I would be really interested and appreciate every comment of our audience. So let us recap a little bit what happened, although there are thousands of videos telling you what happened with the Log4j attack. A short overview. So a novel attack named Log4Shell was discovered that can be used to exploit Log4j versions 2.0 beta 9 up to 2.14.1. What does it do? Whenever Log4j logs something, for instance, an error message or something a user has typed in via a website, then this system is simply logging the string that is handed over to the Log4j library, right? And the problem is that the user could not only input some strings like his name or his address or something like that, but also commands that can be used to trigger the server to not log exactly what is in the string, but to log, for instance, the operating system the Java application is running on. Or even worse, to connect to another server. So the attacker who is sitting just in front of your website could maybe trigger the server, your server, to connect to his malicious server. And even worse, it can be possible via a certain command to trigger the server to fetch some software and execute that software. How is that going? With, for instance, JNDI, which is the Java Naming and Directory Interface, you can input a command that triggers the server to fetch malicious code from an LDAP server, a directory service, right? And there is no further security layer, like authentication of the server or just connecting to servers you want your server to connect to. There is no security net at all. The server just connects to what the attacker provided as the address of the server to connect to. And there is another feature in Java, which is actually a feature Java was popular for. Which is the class loader feature that makes it possible to load classes during runtime and execute those classes. And if you trigger as an attacker, you shouldn't do that, but if you do it, or an attacker is triggering your server to fetch something from his or her LDAP server, which is code, maybe Java code, a class file for instance, the class loader would get that and execute that. And with that, the attacker has all the opportunities he likes to have as an attacker. He can install a backdoor, he can execute arbitrary code, whatever he wants to do, and it all goes on your machine it is all executed on your machine with the rights the Java application has. And that's a big problem. So in short, it's a trivial exploit that you just trigger via a website interface or whatever interface your application has. And due to another improper input validation, the attack is possible at all, right? There is one good thing. The media did not report the number of attacks we as security guys had expected. Actually, way less than that. It's a good thing. So we are done with Log4J. Let's stop talking about that. Why we are doing this video after a couple of months? I can tell. The problem is, if attackers had made use of this Log4j vulnerability in the days when the servers were vulnerable and played in a backdoor and went to sleep, then they are now just waiting for the right moment in time. And that will not be tomorrow, maybe not the day after, but maybe in some weeks, some months, or even years. And they come back from sleeping and do their malicious business on your server. And to provide some evidence on that, media and even governmental institutions are reporting that they still see scans around the internet, throughout the internet, that are looking for servers that are vulnerable to the Log4j problem. And they even see some exploits that have been used, like installing, for instance, a crypto miner on that, or operating part of a botnet on those servers, or even install pen testing software like Cobalt Strike and others. And that's a problem, right? So we do have some attacks, less than expected, but maybe we haven't seen all the attacks because the attackers just were there and went to sleep immediately. Of course, the first response to the attack was patching all the systems. And I imagine you're a perfect IT administrator or IT security guy, and you made sure that every update that has been provided by the vendors of your software has been played into your server. And of course, you also check the custom-made software, since no vendor patch might be available for this software because it is written by your team or by another vendor who did it individually just for you. So maybe that's a problem, but you already checked that. Note in this context that also other versions might consist of vulnerabilities. For instance, 1.x versions had some vulnerabilities, or even higher versions like 2.15 that is specifically vulnerable to a DOS attack. If you want to see more about that, you should look up the CVE with the number 2021-45046. However, those attacks are not as critical as the Log4Shell attack, with which I can do simply anything with the server, right? Back to the fact that some servers might still be vulnerable or rather unpatched, or some servers have been compromised with, but you haven't seen the attack because the attacker went to sleep. Here is another security net that you could implement to raise your security level at least a little bit. It will not provide 100% security. We are absolutely sure about that. But maybe it's the security net that prevents you from the attacker that is coming back at a later stage. So what can you do? You can go for a packet filter or an application layer gateway to make sure that your server is only connected to servers, or will only connect to servers that it is intended to connect to. And these application layer gateways or packet filters will prevent your system from connecting to an arbitrary server, for instance, to the attacker. And with that, you made the world of security a little bit better. And this is what the video was all about. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and less vulnerabilities and attacks that you would expect in the future.